am so glad you joined us for another episode of Jesus Thoughts with Pastor Amie. Almost Christmas time. We've just got a few days left, and we are talking about how to know this Christ child better. What child is this? Now, in the book of John, we're starting to get into this last gospel, and Jesus talks about himself over and over by using what has been a recognizable pattern called I am statements. And today it's episode 21. We're going to be looking at the statement Jesus made, I am the good shepherd. Now, even this term I am, as simple as it might sound, is a trigger point for the Jewish people because it is really, really important to them. If you look at the book of Exodus, when Moses is standing by the burning bush, one of the most important, faith stories in this Torah, in this Hebrew Bible, and Moses says, okay, God, if you're sending me to go, help deliver these people, and I just tell him, like, the God of your ancestors sent me, what do I tell him your name is, God? When God tells God's name to Moses, God says this, I am who I am. This is what you're to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. So ever since that moment, I am has been the defining name for God. Flash forward to Jesus in this fourth gospel. Jesus is a bit of a mischief maker, especially to the Jewish leaders. And they're having, in John chapter 8, a conversation about who Jesus is and arguing about it and where does he get authority and all that kind of stuff. And they're arguing about Abraham. And Jesus says to them, very truly, I tell you, before Abraham was born, I am. And they didn't like that very much because Jesus is now equating himself with the God of Israel. Quite bold, quite intentional. So all of these statements that we pick up on in John are super intentional. And Jesus is trying to tell us who God really is. So I want to go to John chapter 10, starting in verse 10. It says, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that they might have life and have it to the full. I'm going to pause right there. I love that verse. It reveals God's character, God's intention for God's creation, for humanity. Abundant life, overflowing life, full life. And then it goes on in verse 11. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he's a hired hand, cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep and my sheep know me, just as the Father knows me and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not in this pen. I must bring them in also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. There is so much about who God is in this passage we just read. Each verse we could spend hours on. We got 5 minutes. So Jesus begins by comparing this good shepherd. I am the good shepherd, he says, and he compares himself with a hired hand. Any imposter that comes and tries to lead the people and pretend like they can give these people everything that they need and want, guess what? They're an imposter. They're like a hired hand who, when trouble comes, guess what? They'll put their agenda first. Look out for number one. But Jesus, the good shepherd, Jesus is different. And the difference is he cares so deeply for the sheep that he's willing to put himself in between harm's way when anything would come to harm them. Jesus doesn't sugarcoat life or the human condition. There are wolves out there. There are thieves out there. It is dangerous out there. But Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. And if anything comes to harm you, I am going to put myself between you. He cares so much for the sheep, and not just the sheep but that are in the pen, but also the sheep that are wandering around and not yet in the pen. I love how this points to this beauty of inclusivity and love for those who are not yet in the pen. Because if you claim to be a Christian, if you know Jesus, guess what? At one point in time, you were one of the not yets. You were somewhere out there wandering until Jesus brought you in. So it's important to always have a heart, always have eyes, always be attentive to those sheep that are not yet in the pen. Jesus said, they'll listen to my voice too. They'll come on in. He says, because I know my sheep and my sheep know me. They hear my voice. They know my voice. Now this word know, the verb to know, in our language, most of the time we use it in an intellectual sense, to know facts about. If we were going to say I know God, it would be like some sort of divine contemplation. But this word to these Jewish people and in these languages does not just mean intellectual knowledge, to know something. It means to know experientially, to have a relationship with, to go through things together, to understand what makes people tick, to know people. To show that this is like relationship experience knowledge, not head knowledge, it's the same exact word, to know, that they would use as a euphemism for human intercourse, right? Like they'd say so-and-so knew his wife and they consummated the marriage. To know experientially. This word does not just mean head knowledge. Going through things together, having relationship. That's how Jesus, the Good Shepherd, knows his sheep. He experiences life with them. He understands them, just like the intimacy between him and the Father. And in this whole passage, even this image of a good shepherd, it gives us an image of a defensive posture, not an offensive posture. This is not a God who has a philosophy like Cobra Kai, strike first, strike hard, no mercy. This isn't a God out to just obliterate enemies and go just kill everybody and punish people. This is more like Mr. Miyagi-Do, like karate only for defense, Daniel-san. We have a good shepherd here who doesn't have guns or anything, but this God chooses to patiently fight evil by gathering his own and protecting them and nurturing and giving goodness and love and care and nourishment. Do you know anyone who needs that kind of protection, who needs that kind of care and nourishment and love? Invite them into this sheep pen. This shepherd wants to feed and care for them. And in the course of that protection, when the time comes, and it did, this good shepherd may have a defining moment of giving up his own life. And this is what Jesus did in the face of hatred and cruelty and violence and sin. Jesus didn't fly off and abandon us. He could have, but he didn't. What kind of a shepherd would he have been if he would have been like, hey, y'all, it's been real. Nice little experiment, getting to like understand firsthand what it's like to be a human. But like this torture and death that's coming, I want to skip that part. So, peace out, good luck. And then just kind of flit it off. But Jesus, the Good Shepherd, was in it with us until the end. He faced the wolves, he faced the thieves, he faced the cross, so we could know the depths of God's love for humanity, all of us, you and me. So today's invitation is for us to get active instead of passive about knowing him. You could start by telling him you want to know him better. Do you pray? Do you invite the Good Shepherd into your life, into your decisions, into your relationships, into your finances, into your work, into your play, into your dreams, into your failures? Talk to him. Study him, the scriptures and other people's experiences to get to know the character of this God. Are you depending on him for anything at all, or are you self-reliant? He wants to be your shepherd, and he's really, really good. Amen. I invite you to subscribe to this channel. We've got a few more days left, and there's more cool stuff coming your way.